Welcome to Fine Living, presented by Jim Reif Builders on 1240 Radio WOMT.
And good morning, Lakeshore, and welcome to Fine Living right here at 1240 Radio WOMT each and every week, presented by Jim Reif Builders. Good morning, my friend Jim.
Terry, how was it today?
Hey, can't complain. Christmas was wonderful. Hopefully, Christmas was wonderful for yourself and our listeners.
Thank you. It was, and we're right around the new year starting here in a few days, and
yes,
so we'll bring in 2015.
Absolutely, time flies by, and today we are talking about ice damming. And for those that may not know what we're talking about briefly, because I didn't when you and I were talking ahead of time, I'm looking at this thinking ice damming. Interesting.
It's a new sport. No, ice damming is when ice forms on the edge of your roof. Sometimes backs up under the shingles. Sometimes it may drip over the edge. You get those long icicles hanging off, the big stalactites kind of thing hanging off your gutters and your roof. That's what ice damming is. So we're gonna talk about that.
Why do homes get those?
Basically, the main principle for ice damming is you need snow, of course, on the roof, and we had a lot of that last year, and then also heat loss from your home. So when you have the heat doesn't all stay in our home, it does get through the insulation, get out, and if you don't have it insulated enough, then it gets through the attic, and then it melts the icicles on the melts the snow, on the roof, and then it flows down as water. Then when it gets to the bottom roof by the overhang, it cools because there's no heat there. The overhang doesn't have the heat under it. So then it freezes, forms ice. Some may drip over the edge and have those big icicles hanging off. But others actually, what you don't see, which is the dangerous part, is that it backs up underneath the shingles and can leak into your home then.
So what other damages can happen with this? Because, it looks pretty. Sometimes have these really big icicles hanging down. But it's really not good for the house. That's
correct. It does a lot of damage to the home, especially in the shingles and the gutters. It can also, if it does leak in, get into the insulation, the wood, the drywall. We've had a lot of cases where it's dripped right in the home, right onto the carpet.
Wow.
Because it backed up so much.
So what can a homeowner do to prevent something like this?
Well, a couple of key things is proper ventilation. So proper ventilation to get the heat that you're losing from the home out before it has a chance to melt the snow. And we need to do that through the ventilation process, which involves typically ridge vents or a box vent with little square vents on the roof, and then e-venting. So at the overhang part, there you want to have ventilation going in so the cool air can enter there, and with the law of physics, it'll travel up and the heat air rises, and it'll take the air out so that it'll take the warm air out of the house without melting the snow on the roof.
Okay. And insulation obviously is a big part of this.
Yes, it is. And insulation. Personally, I'd recommend an R44 in our climate. So R44 is a rating of insulation, the resistance of insulation, but you want to have a big, thick blanket that typically involves about 16 inches thick of insulation in your attic to help keep the heat in.
Okay. What about venting?
Venting, I guess, again, e-venting and ridge venting is a key thing. Some people have gable vents. Those actually don't work very well.
What is that?
A gable vent is on the gable of your home and maybe up towards the peak. There's a little triangular-shaped device, and the air can flow in there. Well, what happens is that the air flows in there and goes right out the ridge vent. It really should come at the bottom of the roof and then cool the entire roof as it goes through.
Okay, what about power vents?
Power vent is a no-no in our climate because, again, it's going to pull the ventilation from the ridge back down or from the gable vents down, not let the natural process of the law of physics happen.
Okay. Jim, a lot of great information, a lot of just good home ownership education here on the program. If listeners want to get hold of Jim Reif Builders to start planning a project for 2015, how can they do that?
Give us a call, 684-6899. We're welcome to take your call, answer any questions, and schedule an appointment. And then you can look us up at jimreifbuilders.com, or we're also on Facebook.
Awesome. Jim, thank you for your time, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Terry.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Fine Living, presented by Jim Reif Builders, the leader in new construction and remodeling here on the Lakeshore. Let their vision enrich your lifestyle. Tune in again next week for another episode of Fine Living on 1240 Radio WOMT. To learn more, visit jimreifbuilders.com.